Okay. Hi, Team Legacy. Sorry we had technical difficulties with our connection for Sip and Social. So I'm doing our goal setting session right now, recording it, and it'll just live here on Team Legacy. So I'm going to jump right in. We are going to talk about goal setting. And a lot of times you talk about like the kind of the idea of setting goals and why and how and what and all that stuff, or why and how, but not so much exactly what. So what I'm going to do today is actually give you a specific real life example. I'm going to walk through goal setting Maria Hakim based on her numbers. So Maria Hakim, if you guys didn't see last month, she promoted to senior gold. She made these crazy leaps and bounds. She gained 100 points last month in order to reach her goal of hitting senior gold, and she did it. And so we were talking about what her next goal was, and she told me that she just wants to get to the next rank as fast as possible. She has no idea in what time frame or anything like that. She just wants to go as fast as possible. And so I thought that was a perfect example to kind of share with you guys how if you don't know exactly what your goal should be or how long you want it to be or what's realistic, how to look at where you're at and then set a goal based on your actual numbers. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to share my screen. And so if you want to kind of get your stuff together, I'm going to tell you what you need, and you could stop and start this video along with me and do it step by step with me if you want. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now and tell you the items that you need to have. Let me share my screen and then I will. Okay, so you just need a few things to prep yourself for setting your goals. So first and foremost, you need to have a calculator handy right here. You need to have a blank note, either a piece of paper or a note in your phone is fine. I started filling out the data so I didn't have to take quite so long live here with you guys. But calculator, a blank note, and then you also want to have, my little face is in the way here, a copy of the compensation plan summary is super duper handy. If you don't know where to find this, you would go to your back office, your virtual office, go to the side here to training center, then to resource library, and this comes up and you can scroll down to compensation plan tools and view the summary, or you can view the full plan, which is really, really interesting. I really encourage you to take some time at some point and read the actual full compensation plan. It's very interesting. So if you do the summary, this is what you'll get. And you want to have this handy, and I'll show you why later. And then the last thing that you want to have pulled up is your virtual office. And Maria said that I could go ahead and share this with you guys. You can see her back office. So once I logged into her account, I went to virtual office, and then under dashboard, you can click the little purple area and it brings you to this current points section. And then I use this drop down menu to bring the report to July. So you want to have your last month's, we're in August right now, you want to have last month's numbers pulled up, the comp plan, a blank note or piece of paper, and the calculator. Then we are ready to goal set. And so what I want to tell you or liken this to is it's just like planning a road trip. So if I'm sure pretty much everybody has been on a road trip, but planning your goals or setting your goals is kind of like planning a road trip. I'm going to walk you through basically 4 really easy steps, but just like a road trip, first you have to know where you are. Look at where you're at, take out, if we had paper maps still these days, or if we use them still, we would take out the map, and you got to figure out the little you are here spots. You have to know where you're at. Then you look and say, okay, I want to go, my final destination is here. You got to determine where you want to go. And then you look at those 2 points and say, okay, I could take this path to get there or that path to get there. There's probably multiple ways to get to where you want to go, but I'm going to decide to go this way. And then here's what's really unique, I think, about being on a road trip is when you are driving on a road trip, you can decide how long you want to take to get where you want to go. So I could say I want to take a straight shot and I want to get there in 24 hours. We're not going to stop anywhere. We're going to sleep, we're going to rotate drivers and sleep so that we can get there as fast as possible. That's typically how our road trips go because Nate wants to do that. Or you can say, I want to schedule in extra side trips and do all the fun things. I'm going to, hang out here with my friends. I'm going to take a little while longer, but eventually I'll get to where I want to go. That's totally up to you. And that is exactly how we go about setting realistic goals based on your actual numbers. So let's break that down and see what that looks like when you're actually setting goals. So step number 1 is to evaluate where you're at right now. So that's why I want you to have last month's points pulled up. And you can also go back to my dashboard, because the thing we're going to look at is, excuse me one second, what we're going to look at is points, and we're also going to look at the number of ambassadors that were sponsored to your team last month. There's an easy way to do that by going to my dashboard and then hitting the little blue square that's over on the right side, or you can count your report down here. Either way, I just wanted to let you know there's 2 different ways you can do it. I'm just going to stay on this page for sake of ease. So when you're evaluating where you're at, you want to look at where you ended last month. So we're in August, and we're going to set ourselves up for maybe August and the next 3 months or so, but we want to look at what we already know. We can guess what we want to happen in August, but what we know happened was in July. It's set in stone. These are the numbers. So first and foremost, you want to know what your points were in July, or the previous month. So she was at 250 points right here at the end of July. So you can see that I wrote that down in my notes. So July data points, 250. The very next thing that you need to figure out is how many new ambassadors joined your team in the previous month. Now, if you're like a silver ambassador just trying to figure this out, you may be like, okay, I already know, I don't even need to look at my report. I know 2 people joined, or 1 person joined because I signed them up personally. That's fine, but I would really encourage you to actually get in your back office and get used to using your all of your virtual office tools and these reports to pull these numbers and practice it. It's a lot easier to start doing it when you're a silver or you're a gold than to like wake up and magically be emerald somehow maybe, and then decide to learn how to use your reports. So this is what I do every single month, especially if I'm like really wanting to meet a goal. You better believe I know what my numbers are. So you know what your points were, and then you want to know how many people were added. So you can come down here to, the list of names, and you click join date once, and it ranks it to the oldest, and then you click join date again. And now I can see all the people that joined in July. So I write that down on my piece of paper and my note. I wrote people added, ambassadors added 12. Then the last thing that you really need to know that's super duper helpful for projecting goals is how many subscriptions are on. So in Maria's case, 12 people were added to her team last month, and then you just scroll right over to subscriptions and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I counted 6. I might have miscounted actually. No, I was right, because this was, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of those 12 people have a subscription in place. So that's there. Now we know, that's step 1. Now we know where we're at. Step number 2 on our little road trip is we've got to decide where on the map we want to go. That's where our compensation plan comes in really super handy. So we go back over to our summary, and Maria already knows where she wants to go, but maybe you don't. Maria knows she just got to Senior Gold and she wants to get to Ruby, and she doesn't know how long. She just wants to get there as fast as possible. She doesn't know what's reasonable or what might be a good push goal that might be a little bit of a stretch, but that she could manage. So if you have no idea, definitely get familiar with this compensation plan summary. And what you're really looking at on this summary chart is this line right here that shows you the points necessary to reach your goal rank. So if you are at silver, it doesn't require any number of points. You just have to have 3 ambassadors. But if you're silver trying to go gold, then you know, okay, now I need to be paying attention to how many points in my organization I need. I need 100. So if you would go look at that purple chart and say, okay, I had 50 points. I need 50 more to get to 100. In Maria's case, she was at exactly 250 and she wants to get to 500. So I would just write that down. Goal points equals, or whatever, 500. And she was at 250. Okay. And then so basically you want to figure out, if I need 500 points and I had 250, I know the difference is I need to add 250 more points. That's easy math, right? But we really want to know, what does that actually mean? How many ambassadors do we need to add to our team in order to get there? Because points don't really help when we're getting down to like breaking down our actual steps in reaching a goal. You've got to know how many ambassadors. So to keep it easy, I would say, well, I do know that Maria's team is on, or mostly in her top 3 levels. So for the most part, every person that's being signed to her team will be worth 5 pay points. So we could say 250 points is what she needs. We're breaking out the calculator. Divide that by 5, and she needs 50 more people. So needs 50 new ambassadors. You could be really conservative if you wanted to and say, maybe we're going to sign a few more people, because if you see, your pay points over here, somewhere down here, it'll show you. There we go. Your pay points at levels 1 through 3, you get 5 points. And then if they're a level 4, then it's 4 points and 3 points and 2 and 1. So you could say, like, let's say their average 4.5, you can get really mathy if you want. If, some level 4s are mixed in there, you could do 250 divided by 4.5 just to be a little more conservative and say, okay, I really need 56 new ambassadors. You can get as technical as you want, but just to keep it easy, I would say divide by 5. So that means that Maria needs 50 new ambassadors. So that kind of breaks it down. That's like, okay, now I can kind of see, like, when I knew I needed 250 points, that's so vague. I don't know, like, what I've got to do to get there. But 250 points is really 50 new ambassadors that we can work with. Okay, so now we know where we are. We know where we want to go, right? And then we have, and this right here, knowing the points and the new ambassadors, is clarifying what path we want to take. Because if we know where we want to go, but we don't know how to get there, it does us no good whatsoever. So know where we are, know where we want to go, and know how to get there. 50 new ambassadors, okay? Now we have to decide how long we want to take to get there. This is why I wanted to use Maria as an example, because she has no idea how long she wants to take to get there. So we can kind of play with these numbers now that we know them. If we were just like, a lot of times what I see is someone say, oh, I want to be Ruby by the end of the year. And they have no idea exactly what they need to do to get there, or if that's reasonable, or if that's not, if that's not even a difficult goal because they're so close, they should have done that like in like a month, So you really got to know your numbers. So how long do we want to take to get there? So if she needs 50 new ambassadors, let's say, what would that look like if she did that in 3 months? That would mean she would need 16.6, so 17 new ambassadors. So 3 months to Ruby means she needs 17 new ambassadors a month, right? So then Maria can make a personal decision about her goal and say, yes, I can do that. We signed 12 new people in the month of July. 17 is not that much farther on. That just means I need 5 more than we did last month. So if we found 2 people that want to go silver, they would make up that difference. So, and if that seems crazy to her, if she's like, no, you know what, the kids, I'm going into a crazy season. I just know I can't go full pedal to the metal like I did in July. Let's see what that would look like with like 4 months. So 50 new ambassadors divided by 4 months. 12 and a half new ambassadors, let's call that 13. So 4 months would be 13 new ambassadors per month. And so on and so forth. You guys see what I'm doing, right? So you could say, okay, 50 ambassadors, let's say divided by 5 months. We're in August, September, October, November, December. So let's say she wants to go Ruby by the end of the year. That would just be 10 new ambassadors each month. So 5 months would be 10 new ambassadors per month. So wherever she finds that to be reasonable and makes sense for what she can commit to and what her team looks like they might be able to do together, this is where you can play with, being realistic or not, hitting those BHAG, those big, hairy, audacious goals. And this is where I see a lot of people struggle because they're like, oh, well, that seems scary. I don't know. We only signed 3 people last month and I signed them all personally. Well, okay, maybe 17's out of reach, but don't count off 10. you could step it up. What do I need to do to reach 10 a month, right? Here is one more thing that I want to talk to you about in terms of determining the length that you want to take to get there. I will say that the further you stretch out your goal, the less likely you are to hit it. So if you start out and say like, okay, I want to go gold and it's going to take me, I'm just going to project 6 months to gold because that's what seems safe. Well, you've got 6 months of potential attrition. Attrition is a word that you might hear thrown around, and a lot of people don't understand what attrition really means. But attrition means that people are going to stop taking Plexus. Like, that's just the name of the game. If you have been around longer than a week, you've probably experienced somebody that maybe didn't have the same experience you did on the products and wanted their refund. And it's no big deal, but you just have to know that it's going to happen. So the further you stretch out your goal, the more you're going to have to deal with attrition. So in Maria's case, she's got this momentum. She's at 250 points. She wants to get to 500. I would say, girl, go for it in 3 months, because it's less likely that the people that already are helping you reach these 250 points, it's less likely that they'll fall off or, stop taking Plexus in that 3-month window versus 5 or 6 months. It might be more likely that some of them are going to stop taking Plexus. Here's one more thing about attrition that I want to talk to you about. This is why I wanted to look at subscriptions. So what you can also do from here, knowing that Maria had 250 points in July, she signed 12 new people, and they were all in her levels 1 through 3. So 12 new people times 5 points each is 60 points. That means she should be increasing by 60 points in August if she did nothing. If she did no work this month, they didn't add a single soul, and everybody still ordered this month, including all of her new people, then she would, in an ideal world, be at 310 points. Is that right? 250 plus those 60 new, oops, I didn't do that right. 250 plus 60 new points, 310. Holy cow, that's awesome. But only 6 of those 12 people had subscriptions on. So I personally would only count those 6. I would say, okay, it's pretty likely that those 6 people are going to definitely hit in the month of August and provide points. So what 6 people times 5 points each is 30 plus 250. So very realistically, she should be at least at 280 points by the end of August, and likely higher because she can probably work carefully with those people or closely with those people that signed up in July, and maybe get a few more of those 12 to turn on their subscriptions, make sure that they reorder, all of those things. So can you guys see how just looking at your numbers gives you so much power? You can actually say like, okay, this is my projection. I should be at least, I'm expecting to be at least at 280. At best, I could be at 310 or maybe even higher if people purchase a bigger welcome pack this month. And so then, sure, it's realistic. You could even do the numbers from here. So if I was at 280 and we added 17 new ambassadors in July, and they all hit in August, and they all hit in September, then that's 17 more, 17 times 5 plus our 280 from the month. Then she could say in September, she'll likely be at 365, and so on and so forth, okay? So that is really everything that I wanted to show you. You've got 4 steps to goal setting. First, you determine where you're at. Look at your numbers, know your points, your people, and your subscription numbers. Then you determine where you want to go, how many points that's going to take, and how many new ambassadors that's going to take. Then and that helps you clarify the path that you're going to take. Then you can start playing with how long you want to take to get there. Do you want to take some detours and take a little time, or do you want to go faster and push a little bit harder and stretch yourself a little bit and get there in less time? So that's my goal setting for you guys. I hope you have a great evening. Talk to you later, Team Legacy.